While you'll hear plenty about the latest Conjuring spin-off or the next installment in everyone's favorite Final Destination franchise, there's a whole universe of spine-chilling horror films that never receive their due. The horror genre does flourish on surprise, and so some of its finest are found buried beneath the bigger smash hits. But don't worry, we swear we don't do gatekeeping around here. Here are 10 underrated horror gems that were unjustly overlooked. Let's get started. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Number 1. The Eyes of My Mother, 2016. Many genres and subgenres have tackled the idea of feminine rage, but this movie takes a different spin. One that's more simmering and deeply unsettling. Released in 2016, The Eyes of My Mother is not a typical horror flick. Its poetic descent into loneliness, trauma, and horrifying scenes is the one to churn your stomach, or, should I say, gouge your eyes? Shot entirely in stark black and white, The Eyes of My Mother was Nicolas Pesce's directorial debut, starring Kika Magalhaes as Francisca, who, to put it lightly, is a train wreck you simply can't look away from. The film unfolds the story of a young girl who grows up on a secluded farm with her family. This is where she learns about anatomy from her mother, who is a skilled surgeon. They both spend their days digging deep into corpses in disturbingly intimate ways. But when an intruder shatters her world, Francisca spirals into a life of psychological dread, making horrific choices to cope with her trauma. It shows us how isolation can twist a person's idea of love and companionship. Let's say the less you know going in, the more disturbing the experience will be. So we'll leave it at that. The film's cinematography is one of its strongest elements, as the black and white aesthetic adds a timeless, almost ghostly quality, making the horror feel eerily elegant. Pesce opts for a symbolic contrast, giving out undertones of life and death. There's also an interesting theory that Francisca's name might be a nod to Saint Francis of Assisi, a saint associated with kindness and healing, which is ironic, considering Francisca's twisted version of love and care. Needless to say, this one's a horror experience like no other. Number 2. Pawsum, 2018. Released in 2018, Pawsum is a film that doesn't just creep you out, but sinks into your brain and festers there. If you like your horror vague, slow, and dripping with psychological torment, this one's for you. Directed by Matthew Holness, Pawsum stars Sean Harris as Philip, a deeply disturbed puppeteer returning to his childhood home with a mysterious bag containing a grotesque spider-like puppet that he desperately wants to get rid of. But no matter how often he tries to destroy it, Pawsum keeps returning. And trust me, this puppet is the stuff of nightmares. This movie feels more like a waking fever dream. The pacing is slow, the dialogue is minimal, yet every moment is soaked in dread. You're never quite sure what's real and what's in Philip's head, but one thing's clear. His past is haunting him, and that damn spider puppet is at the center of it all. Flashbacks also shed light on the disturbing relationship he shares with his stepfather, Maurice, played by Alan Armstrong. We won't spoil how it all comes together. That's a dessert best served at the film's finale. Pawsum has bleak, muted colors, grimy settings, and a constant sense of decay. There are no loud jump scares, just a slow, creeping tension that never lets up, which probably explains his 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Although Matthew Holness is best known for his comedy work, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, he completely flipped the expectations here. If you want a horror film that messes with your head rather than just your heartbeat, give this a shot. Number 3. Lake Mungo, 2008. Next on our list is the 2008 horror Lake Mungo. At first glance, it might seem like a true crime documentary, but don't be fooled by its found footage style. It's a fictional mockumentary that's so convincing you'll find yourself second-guessing what's real and what's not. If you're into slow burn horror that blurs the line between reality and the supernatural, then this one will be a ride you don't want to miss. Directed by Joel Anderson, Lake Mungo is a found-footage horror that follows the grieving Palmer family after their teenage daughter, Alice, drowns in a tragic accident. But as they try to move on, strange things start happening around their home. Throughout the film, Alice's brother begins witnessing her ghost and is convinced there's more to her than meets the eye. Footage, photographs, and eerie confessions hint that Alice may not have just been an ordinary girl. She may not be entirely gone, even though the evidence may be dubious. The filmmakers explore grief uniquely through the movie, as Lake Mungo strongly plays around with a psychological phenomenon called pareidolia. Humans tend to have a bias if they strongly want to believe in something, which can mean that sometimes it's easier for the brain to accept a comforting illusion than to face an unsettling truth. The film successfully makes the story feel painfully real, like you're watching an actual documentary. The pacing is slow but hypnotic, pulling you deeper into the mystery of who Alice was and what secrets she left behind. Although, when the horror does hit, it's not just scary, it's emotionally devastating. Interestingly, the film's name comes from an actual dried-up lake in Australia, which ties into the movie's themes of loss and buried secrets. Even though the film didn't make it big at the box office, it's one of the scariest plots, exploring the themes of grief, regret, and the terrifying idea that we never truly know the people closest to us.
You want some rope?
Number 4. The Dark and the Wicked, 2020. If you ever thought your family was stressful, The Dark and the Wicked will make you appreciate them a little more, because no matter how bad your last family gathering was, at least you didn't have pure evil lurking in the corners of your childhood home. Directed by Brian Bertino, this film stars Marin Ireland and Michael Abbott Jr. as siblings Louise and Michael, who return to the remote family farm to say goodbye to their dying father. But instead of just dealing with grief and old family wounds, they quickly realize something else is waiting for them. Something dark and relentless is hell-bent on making their worst nightmares real. The pacing is brutal because it doesn't build up slowly or give you time to breathe. From the first scene, you know something is horribly wrong, and it only gets worse from there. The film is soaked in shadows, silence, and eerie farmhouse isolation. The cinematography is designed in a way to make you feel suffocating, like evil itself is watching you. They even go as far as to put the main characters a little off-center in some of the scenes to make you focus on what else is lurking on the other side of the room. There aren't many over-the-top effects, just pure creeping dread. It's interesting to know that Brian Bertino shot this on his actual family farm, which might explain why the setting feels so authentic. Released in 2020, this one's gotten a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and bagged 4 awards across various film festivals. This should definitely be on your watch list, because it isn't a casual popcorn horror movie, but a full-on descent into despair, which will end up making you feel sick, yet you'll like it. If you like horror that feels merciless, this one's got you covered. Number 5. Noroy The Curse, 2005. If you ever thought, hey, maybe I should dig a little deeper into this creepy mystery, let Noroy The Curse be your warning to absolutely not do that. Curiosity may not just kill the cat, it might unleash a full-blown demonic nightmare. Directed by Koji Shiraishi, this 2005 Japanese found-footage horror follows a journalist named Masafumi Kobayashi, who specializes in paranormal stories and disappears after he finishes his documentary. Through a series of found footage, we find out about the events that led up to it. It all begins in 2002, when Kobayashi investigates an old house and interviews a woman who claims to hear baby noises. These strange occurrences are tied to an old legend and, well, let's just say things escalate after that. The deeper he digs, the darker and more disturbing things get, all leading to one of the most chilling endings you'll ever see in a horror film. It's noteworthy to see how Noroy stands out in its pacing. Unlike a lot of found footage horror, it gives you just enough eerie details to keep you on edge, and when the horror finally hits, it hits hard. This isn't just about ghosts jumping out of corners for jump scares. It's a deeply unnerving experience that makes you feel like you're watching something you shouldn't be seeing. Visually, it sticks to that raw documentary style, making everything feel real. It feels less like a movie and more like a real investigation unfolding right before your eyes. The way it pieces together different footage of TV segments, interviews, and found tapes makes it even more immersive. It's crazy that Noroy never had a major international release, which is wild considering how influential it became in horror circles. Many fans of Paranormal Activity and the Blair Witch Project later realized this was the true king of found footage horror. It's easily one of the scariest films you'll ever watch, especially if you like found footage horror. If you're looking for a horror movie that gets under your skin and stays there, Noroy is the one for you. Number 6. They Look Like People, 2015. Not all horror films rely on monsters or ghosts. Sometimes the scariest thing is the mind itself. Released in 2015, They Look Like People is a quiet, deeply unsettling look at paranoia, mental illness, and the fear of losing yourself. Directed by Perry Blackshear, the film follows Wyatt, starring MacLeod Andrews, a man who becomes convinced that people around him are being taken over by sinister creatures. He reconnects with his old friend Christian, played by Evan Dumochel, who's dealing with his own struggles. As Wyatt's paranoia grows, so does the question, is something really happening, or is his mind playing games with him? At its core, this film is about trust, isolation, and the fear of losing oneself. And that is what makes this film stand out. The way it blurs the line between reality and paranoia makes you question what's really right, along with the characters. Sometimes the real danger might not be lurking in the shadows, but inside your own mind. It never outright confirms whether Wyatt's fears are real or imagined, but that ambiguity is what makes it so unnerving. The cinematography is intimate, often focusing on faces and quiet moments, making the fear feel personal and real. The film plays with shadows and sound design, using silence as effectively as any loud scare. They Look Like People premiered at the Slam Dance Film Festival, earning a special jury award. With a 92% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, it has been widely praised by critics, and it is remarkable to note that the film is a truly independent effort, as Perry Blackshear took on multiple roles, writing, directing, producing, shooting, and editing it himself. The movie was made on an ultra-low budget with a small crew, yet it delivers one of the most gripping psychological horror experiences in recent years. It's haunting, heartbreaking, and completely unforgettable. Number 7. The Clove Hitch Killer, 2018. Next up on the list is The Clove Hitch Killer. Not all monsters go out of their way to look scary and terrifying. Some live quiet lives, blend in perfectly, and hide behind the image of an ideal family man. Premiered in 2018, the film delivers a gripping, slow-burning serial killer thriller and performed decently as Duncan Skiles' directorial debut. The film stars Charlie Plummer as Tyler, a teenage boy growing up in a small, tight-knit community. His father, Don, played by Dylan McDermott, is a respected family man who acts as a strict religious pillar of the community. But when Tyler stumbles upon some disturbing evidence in their home, he starts to suspect that his father might be a serial killer who terrorized their town years ago. This isn't a fast-paced slasher, it's a creeping psychological nightmare. The horror comes not from what's shown, but from what's suggested. It's reserved in its approach by focusing more on Tyler's growing distrust of his father rather than on Don's sinister murders. So much so that every quiet interaction between Tyler and his father is etched with tension, making us feel like something is about to go horribly wrong. The film's muted color palette and still calculated cinematography add to the unease, making even the most ordinary suburban settings feel dangerous. The film explores the unsettling darkness that can hide beneath a flawless exterior and tackles the idea of inherited evil within a person. Fun fact, the film was loosely inspired by the real-life BTK killer, who also maintained the appearance of a normal family man while secretly committing horrific crimes for decades. Terrifying, isn't it? You'll definitely enjoy this one, because it's a masterclass in quiet horror. It makes you question how well you really know the people closest to you, and sometimes that's the scariest thing of all.
You okay?
Number 8. We Are Still Here, 2015. Next on our list is We Are Still Here. It's the classic horror movie mistake, isn't it? Moving into an old, creepy house in the middle of nowhere. At this point, horror characters should just start Googling, "Is my house built on an ancient burial ground?" before signing a lease. Premiered in 2015, We Are Still Here takes that setup and delivers something far more gruesome than your typical haunted house flick. Directed by Ted Gogin, the film follows Anne, starring Barbara Crampton, and Paul, played by Andrew Sensenig, a grieving couple who moved to a remote New England home after the loss of their son. But their attempt at a fresh start quickly turns into a nightmare as they realize something ominous is lurking in the basement. Something that demands a sacrifice. We Are Still Here starts eerie and gradually cranks the tension all the way up. By the time the film reaches its final act, it is absolute chaos. Think like the Evil Dead levels of blood-soaked madness. The cinematography is rich with winter blues and deep shadows, making the entire film feel cold and isolating. And then, there's the practical effects of gruesome, gnarly, and a love letter to 80s horror genre. The film explores grief, guilt, and the inescapable weight of the past through its storyline. The title itself is a haunting reminder that whether it's ghosts or personal trauma, some things never really leave us. You might find a resemblance to H.P. Lovecraft's work here, as the film's setting and atmosphere were heavily inspired by his fascination with cursed towns and ancient evils lurking beneath the surface. You should definitely watch We Are Still Here, because it delivers everything you could want from a ghost story. Eerie atmosphere, brutal kills, and a third act that goes completely off the rails. If you love supernatural horror with a bite, this one's for you. Number 9. The House of the Devil, 2009. Babysitting is already a stressful gig. Crying kids, weird houses, and that one parent who forgets to leave emergency contacts. Now, imagine adding satanic cults to the mix. That's The House of the Devil for you. Released in 2009, The House of the Devil takes its time messing with your head before delivering a gut punch of terror. Directed by Ty West, the film stars Jocelyn Donahue as Samantha, a broke college student who takes a last-minute babysitting job in a creepy, isolated mansion. The only catch is that there's no baby. It's just an elderly woman she never actually sees, a bizarrely insistent couple played by Tom Noonan and Mary Warrenoff, and an eerie vibe that screams, "Get out." But hey, rent is due, and she really needs the cash. Interestingly, the Barbie director, Greta Gerwig, is also seen in a supporting role in the film. But what makes The House of the Devil so uneasy is its dedication to building tension. Shot in an 80s style aesthetic, the film feels like a lost classic from the VHS era. Every creaky floorboard, every dimly lit hallway, it all lingers just long enough to make you squirm. And then, just when you think you're safe, the horror explodes. Thematically, it taps into paranoia, isolation, and the dangers of ignoring your instincts. It genuinely feels like an ode to the satanic panic era when people genuinely believe their neighbors might be summoning the devil in their basements. It is remarkable to know that director Ty West insisted on using as little CGI as possible, keeping the horror grounded in practical effects and atmosphere. We would say it's horror done right. It takes its time creeping under your skin, lulls you into a false sense of security, and then destroys you in the next moment. If you love a good retro-style slow burner with an explosive payoff, this is one hell of a ride. Number 10. The Autopsy of Jane Doe, 2016. Last but certainly not least, we have The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Have you ever had a job that seemed easy at first but turned into a complete nightmare? If yes, that is exactly what happens in this film. Released in 2016, The Autopsy of Jane Doe proves that you really shouldn't mess with things you don't understand, especially if those things are perfectly preserved corpses with no cause of death. Directed by Andre Ovredal, who is known for Troll Hunters 2010, this eerie tale follows a father-son duo played by Brian Cox and Emil Hirsch, who work as coroners in a small-town mortuary. One night, they receive the unidentified body of a young woman, dubbed Jane Doe, found at a gruesome crime scene. But as they begin her autopsy, strange events start to unfold. The deeper they dig, quite literally, the more terrifying the mystery becomes. But what makes The Autopsy of Jane Doe so effective is its claustrophobic tension. The entire film is set inside a dimly lit mortuary, making you feel just as trapped as the characters. The cinematography is cold and clinical, amplifying the pressure, and every small discovery just makes things worse, like a slow, unraveling dread. The film explores the idea of unseen horrors, the consequences of cruelty, and how some wounds, both literal and metaphorical, never truly heal. It's noteworthy that the corpse of Jane Doe was actually played by an actress, Olwen Kelly, rather than a prop or CGI, which added an uncanny realism to the film. You should definitely watch this one, because it's a perfect blend of psychological horror and supernatural terror. It hooks you in with its intriguing mystery, keeps you guessing, and then delivers some of the most chilling moments in modern horror. Trust me, you won't look at autopsies the same way again. Marvelous verdict. That wraps up our list of underrated horror gems. From unsettling slow burns to downright terrifying supernatural encounters, these films prove that horror has evolved away from just pure jump scares. We're now exploring more deeply into atmosphere, tension, and the kind of dread that lingers long after the credits roll. Which of these movies creeped you out the most? Do you have a favorite underrated horror film that we missed? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe and maybe double check that your house isn't hiding something sinister. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe, and thanks everyone.